Hi, I'm Nate.
I'm Noah.
And this is Talking Lion. Noah, we put out an EP.
We did. It is out now.
It is in the world. What's it called, Noah?
It's called Different Plans.
Different Plans. I can't believe it's out. I can't
know.
believe some of those songs are out. If you haven't heard it yet, dear listener, it's available everywhere. And I actually recommend listening to it because we're going to spend a little time talking about it, really going into depth about how each song came to be. I think what's interesting about this record is that it wasn't supposed to exist.
Mm-hmm.
We had another EP that we were working on at the end of last year, beginning of this year, which was called Most Improved. That will still be coming out, I believe, next year. But there was a lot that we wanted to do with that record that involved traveling, that involved, videos that since quarantine, we obviously couldn't do. So instead we were like, what songs are haunting us? And
went back through the hard drives. We scoured the recesses of our SoundCloud.
We hit up our friends.
And we hit up our friends. Yeah, we really did that.
To make these songs finally exist and come to life. So it's called Different Plans because it wasn't our plan. It's a different plan. But I'm glad these songs exist. Are you glad these songs are in the world, man?
Yeah, I really am.
I think some of these songs really needed us to take the time to grow and learn so that they could be what they were supposed to be.
Yeah.
So,
without further ado,
this is Talking Lion. So Different Plans opens with this song called If We're Done, which is a weird one.
It's a weird song, yeah.
It's a weird song. And it's nice because I think that when we first got to Los Angeles, we were so anxious about making pop music with a capital P that it kind of took us a second to get comfortable. And by a second, I mean years to get comfortable with putting out weird songs. Do you remember the day we worked on that?
I do. I remember we went to Venice to visit our good friend Jesse Mason. We did most sessions back then at our place, but Jesse had a nice setup at his house. He was in his parents' house in Venice, this really nice house with this. He had a really vibey studio with lights and this big desk and a nice couch. So we went to Venice, and I remember.
Well, we got some food.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was going to say one of the things I really remember about that day is walking down Abbot Kinney, sizing up all of the restaurants and being like, that's expensive. I don't really want to spend $15 on a salad right now. And then we eventually, I think, settled for pizza. And I don't remember the place.
Though the conceit, I think, of the whole session is that we all wound up having a digestive issue about the food, which I think was important because if I remember it correctly, for some reason, I was alone.
Yeah.
It was either I was alone in the bathroom or you both had left to go to the bathroom and I was alone in the studio. And that was, I think, when I finally had a second to kind of think about what we want to write about, what was the story here. That was when I think the first verse just kind of.
If we're done, why are you calling me crying? If we're done, isn't that set in stone? And if we're done, why do you keep coming over? If we're done, why can't you leave me alone?
Because we've been working on an entirely different song for most of that session.
Yeah.
We had this whole beat that we were writing to. We had this hook that was I like having you around.
Oh yeah.
And it was this really funky Bombay Bicycle Club, swing, EDM kind of thing. And
then you guys went to the bathroom, or I went to the bathroom. I came back. I'm like, no, it's if we're done. Why are you calling me crying?
Yeah, it's just and we sat down at the synth and just we're let's just play with just a stock retro synth patch with these really pretty chords, and then it kind of opened up into this really
James Blakey,
kinda. Kind of just really intimate synth driven song that doesn't really have a chorus. I don't think we consciously decided to not have a chorus. We just, I think, once If We're Done and that whole sort of structure was on the table. And I remember getting that, why can't you leave me alone? And feeling that, getting that felt really cool. And
I wanted a big drop and you were like, oh, try this. Because I was expecting this sort of bigger drop and then really being sort of floored by the simplicity and the minimalism of it, you know? I think the song, the reason why it haunted us was because we really, really liked it. We just didn't know how to finish it.
Yeah.
You know, Jesse came by and we tried to write a bridge, but all the bridges started sounding like Broadway.
Yeah.
Like it didn't
It
make
was just
sense.
too much song. It was just like too much information.
And it was a time when Bozzy had just started, you know, kind of coming onto the scene.
Right.
So like the concept of, you know, 2 minute and 40-second songs or 2 minute, 30-second songs was still kind of novel.
It was still kind of novel.
And we were like, we're not novel. We're
Yeah.
not cool enough to
It
pull
just,
that
yeah,
off.
it didn't feel finished.
So we tried to get like a rapper on it.
Yeah.
And he took a year to actually record a verse that I thought kind of missed the point of the song. Here's the thing, I think it was a good verse. I just don't think it was the right verse. There were some lyrics that rubbed me a little bit.
Yeah, I remember just being rubbed the wrong way by it, even though in a vacuum it was totally fine.
Yeah, it was a quality verse, but then yeah, like we asked for like, you know, a little bit of a revision, and then I was like, oh, it's gonna take another year.
Yeah.
So then we kind of just like held on to it, and then we revisited it finally.
Yeah.
And kind of got that Linkin Park. It was like the ending is like this blend, and what I love about it is this blend of like Linkin Park and Imogen Heap.
Right.
Which I think it took us years to realize that like our strength or like the thing that made us unique is how much we were fans of sort of these more fringe artists growing up.
Right.
You know,
Linkin Park, the biggest band in the world.
I know. Okay, listen.
The highest selling album of all time.
Okay, I don't mean it like, but what I mean to say is like bringing that into pop music
Yeah,
in
for sure.
2020. You know,
100%.
I think that being comfortable with really citing Linkin Park and Imogen Heap,
Yeah.
as opposed to trying to like, you know, take cues from Bozzy or something like that.
Yeah,
that
100%.
was what sort of opened the song up, I think, for us to actually finish it.
Yeah. Well,
So-
yeah, I think it's, you mentioned the Bozzy thing. Like, I think it's what's interesting is that the culture shifted until it was no longer weird to put out a song that short.
Yeah, definitely.
Like-
so then we're like, oh yeah, why are we trying to make the song longer when it could just have this outro almost and end it?
Yeah.
You know? Should we roll the clip of us trying to come up with this song?
Yeah, sure.
Roll the clip.
Why are you calling me crying? If we're done, isn't that set in stone? And if we're done, why do you keep coming over? If we're done, why can't you leave me alone? If we're done, why do we still go out drinking? And if we're done, why leave your clothes in my home? And if we're done, then I don't know what you're thinking. And if we're done, then why can't you leave me alone? I think it's if we're done, why can't you leave me alone?
Cut out. What about did you play it and then cut?
Why can't you leave me up? You know, like,
Yeah, I fuck with that. It's interesting.
What are you hearing for? Because it sounds
we're
like
hearing
one
like a
big
James
build.
Blake,
Yeah, James
but like a
Blake,
bit, like a
100%.
build, but like
I never learned to share.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I hear fully.
Wait, how does this drop?
I don't think those drums would work.
No, I don't know.
But I
No, I hear just like no drums or like just percussion.
No, well, I think that like it drops, but
Like
so,
I hear like a pulse. More
yeah,
than
pulse,
anything.
and then
Yeah,
it builds in the second
And
verse.
then you can do the drop thing, sure.
But it's
keep the drop. The first drop small.
Start off super minimalistic, like if we're done, if we're done, why do we still go out drinking? And if we're done, why leave your clothes in my home? And if we're done, then I don't know what you're thinking. If we're done, why don't you leave me alone? Why don't you leave me alone?
or that kind of,
That's
or
the
whatever
drop-
whatever
that's
we
the
drop
drop thing
into.
right there. Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
not this, but like
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
it's really different. Yeah.
I honestly think just like a cool cutoff automation thing, and like
Yo, wait, can we try? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I don't know, you're like
Yeah.
a cool cutoff automation thing with like an ARP like building too,
Yeah.
like a pulse,
Yeah.
and then like
Yeah.
If we're done, why can't you leave me alone?
yeah, so
Why can't you leave me alone?
so James Blake. It's
Why can't you leave me alone?
in like a good way though, you know?
Yeah.
Just the chord change is so
Oh, it's so cool.
Yeah, just on the.
Yeah. Remember what you just did, because that was dope.
Yeah.
We're done. Dun, 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 bum, bum. If we're done, why can't you leave me alone? Ready? If we're done, why do you still make me anxious? Hey. If we're done, why do you still feel so close? And why am I nervous that I might still let this? Why ever ask you to go? If we're done, why can't you leave me alone? Why can't you leave me alone?
That works really well.
Wait, but if I ever ask you to go, if we're done, why can't you leave me alone? Why can't you leave me alone? Is there a lyric that resonates with you?
Ooh. Honestly, the whole thing is so good. I think the first line of the second verse, if we're done, why do you still make me anxious? I think there's just something about the way it's sung and
That's
the little,
mine too,
the little
yeah.
sample that comes after it. There's just so much emotion in that. Yeah, I think that's the line that like really does me in more than anything.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. So I'm glad we're on the same page on that one.
And the follow up, why do you still feel so close?
Yeah, that's the thing, is like trying to capture this middle ground of like, oh, why is this person still affecting me, affecting you, like,
Yeah, and it's also interesting because at the time I was like in a completely different place in my life. Like I was getting into a new relationship. I was in like the sort of the honeymoon phase of a relationship. So like I was like completely disconnected from where you were writing the song. But then
because I was like had a pretty tough ending to a relationship and sort of commenting on that,
Yeah.
But I guess now working on it.
Yeah, in finishing the song, I was like, oh, I'm feeling this so much right now.
Because we finished it while you were in breakup town.
Yeah.
Breakup.
Well, and very much in that, like having just been in that period of like, if we're done, why are you still calling me? Like, what is this in between thing where like we've called it quits, but there's still the aftershock of like, we don't know what to do with ourselves. Like we're still hanging on to this relationship. And like, that's it. If we're done is about that. It's about just like the tension in like acknowledging the fleeting moment of like, the post breakup, not really broken up yet, but it's at some point you're gonna have to rip the Band-Aid off. Like that's a very real feeling for I think anyone who goes through a breakup.
Interestingly enough, I was feeling that working on If We're Done about a different relationship.
Right.
Like the song has transcended two of mine. Is there a piece of production you hope people will sort of latch onto?
Ooh. Yeah, I think the whole thing is just like we spent a lot of time on all the little ear candy. I hope people like respect the clarinet. I think that's just like such a minimal little sample.
It has to do work, but it's doing work.
It's doing work. Like it just comes in and it's just like ba-da-da-da-da, and it just says everything it needs to say. There's no follow up. Like it's just that by itself. And then there's all the little like vocal chops that come in. I really hope people appreciate the one little bit of like glitchy, like that was one of the final details I added, that little like glitchy clarinet sample that just like freaks out for a second in the second drop and comes back at the end.
Yeah, I really like that when you threw that in. I'm like, we need that. We need a lot of that.
Yeah, and just all the little like transition and fills, like that splice sample, that the cut off breath that leads into the second drop.
Oh, I love that. Yeah,
yeah.
That was there from like a really early point.
That was there from I think the jump. I think
Yeah.
that was I give credit to Jesse for like pushing to have something there.
Well, you added a bar too.
Yeah, that was the real thing, is just like adding one bar and just having it like really. The whole song is so patient. What I love about the production of it is it really like it's really minimal. It's like truly minimal. Like it's just synth and vocal at the beginning, and then the only thing that gets added is one extra vocal layer, and it feels bigger. Like the energy management still feels like it makes sense, and then you get to the drop and it's like tiny. It's like a dinky little synth with like a pretty, like a somewhat heavy bass, but like it's just that. There's no melodic information. It's just like, oh, it's like Stranger Things now. Like it's just
that was the hard thing to juggle too, is on the like, why am I nervous? It's not all I hurt this. We had that low that bassy sort of patch.
Yeah.
That like I wanted it to sound sort of like Stranger Things, but then it added so much bass information that it made the drop feel even more
that I had
dinky.
to
So
renegotiate the drop.
balance those two things out was definitely like an interesting an interesting kind of juggle.
I really love the fake strings at the end.
Oh yeah,
Like those
run through the vocoder.
Yeah, those are vocoder cellos, but it's just such a like it just sounds like a nice like kind of glitchy string section. And that's like one of my favorite sounds to play around with, and I think especially on this song it came out really well. And then when I did a bunch of melodyning of trumpets. So there's 2 trumpets that kind of come in and harmonize with each other that are from the We're Fine session. So that there's this really nice, like not a single actual string part or trumpet part was recorded with this arrangement in mind. It's just me like squeezing the most out of like old recordings that we have lying around. I think the cello is just a splice sample, but like using vocal synth and using Melodyne, I got them to play exactly what I was hearing in my head. And it sounds, what I like about it is like, whereas on other songs on the record, we have real cello arrangements that are like specifically for the song and they sound really organic. I think If We're Done is the most electronic song on the record.
Yeah.
It's the most inorganic sounding, but it still has, the vocals are so raw and intimate. The clarinet adds such a like homey feeling to it. And then the ending is in that kind of synthetic, natural space of like it's fake strings and fake trumpet that are with technology sound very real. So it sounds orchestral and organic and natural, but it is inherently electronic, and it kind of fits into the palette of this electronic track and makes it sound a little more
In
natural.
a similar vein, one of the parts that I really love about the outro is the If We're Done like pedal.
Yeah, the vocoder.
But it's so mashed and so vocoded that at the beginning it just sounds like another synth.
Yeah.
And at the end we strip the vocoder back. So at the very, very end you can hear what it's saying, which is just if we're done.
And they got those Verispeed gang vocals
Yeah.
that sound like a creepy children's choir.
Yeah.
It's just such a nice vibe.
So yeah, I hope everybody hears those little pieces of ear candy. What about What I Get?
What I Get. Yeah, that's a song. That's an interesting one.
So what's really interesting is What I Get, we actually wrote in the same weekend that we did most of We're Fine. We were in the cabin in Big Bear.
Right.
And I recall we went to the nearby lake.
Yeah.
And on the drive back, I had this melody in my head. So I recorded that on a voice memo, and then we got back to the cabin. I think we drank a bit.
Yeah.
And you started building out this track. That guitar.
Yeah, it all started, I remember playing the guitar.
Yeah.
And it was like Dadgad and just playing those chords and having that little riff in there. And I just remember that was immediately a vibe.
You want to talk about the thing that haunted me the most about the song over the course of years? Whenever I was like, oh, I think we could probably scrap this one, whatever, I would listen to it and I'd be like, okay, we can scrap this one. And then I would get to the chorus. And it wasn't even the woes. It wasn't even the chorus. It was that guitar riff. Yeah.
It's so simple, but
I'm like that. Oh, that has to exist somewhere. And then the O's, whatever. You can actually hear us in the voice memo coming up with that.
I get for thinking we could be the same. But everything we know has changed. I still say I still out of space. This is what I get. This is what I get. And this is what I get for thinking we could be the same. But everything we know is changing. It's still like you, babe. Oh, oh, oh. This is what I get. Oh, oh, oh. This is what I get.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What I like about that is that when we actually decided we wanted to run with it, we heard the trumpets, so we asked Scott to put on the trumpets. But
Right.
also, I knew I wanted to do a lyrical rewrite. Like I knew that like there were things that could be tweaked about the first verse to make it stronger. Things that didn't make sense in the second verse that could have been stronger. Though I mean, pretty much the whole thing was there. Like even that fast part in the second verse was all there.
Yeah.
There were little lyrical rewrites that could be stronger. But what really I needed was that doubling of the chorus to get that last little like twisting of the knife of the.
This is what I get for thinking we can still be friends. Keep on calling like it's all okay, like it goes away when I know we're not good yet.
And that was when I realized that it was an angry song. And that was what was so nice about recording it too, is that like at first, it's a sad song, whatever, but really what it is it's this self-loathing song.
Right.
It's this like, wow, I was so naive for thinking that like this could have had a happy ending for us.
Right.
Or even, some semblance of civility. I didn't realize I had a chip on my shoulder until we were like recording it.
Right.
And then I'm like, oh, that has to come out in the mic. Like that has to come out in the vocal take, and I think it does.
Yeah.
I think you hear this sort of sadness blend into anger by the end of it. Is there something in the production that you think stands out? I mean, that guitar is just doing so much work. You know?
I think what I was just thinking. What's interesting about the production is it's one of those songs that everything that needed to, all the creative musical arrangement decisions that needed to be made were made in the cabin. Like the demo track has that guitar, it has the synth going bump, 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 bump. It's got the drums, like that crazy snare pattern. All of the parts were there. It just didn't sound good. Like the demo just didn't sound well executed. Even though all of my ideas, like it was a sketch. It was like a pencil drawn sketch of what would be a painting. So most of what I was doing in finishing the production was just re-recording some extra guitar to like make the guitar sound more full, recording some electric guitar to make the guitar sound more full, adding some like textural strings, layering the piano with a more like gritty piano to make the piano pop out more.
Well, also the gang vocals.
And the gang vocals,
I think one of the things that like different plans. So when we were working on Most Improved, we were bringing in gang vocals into a lot of those songs. We were bringing them into. There's a song called "Small Things I Forget." We were bringing them into "Hurt Nobody." Like we were realizing that there was a lot of power when we first started Sleeping Lion. Either you would sing or I would sing, and then we realized, oh, it kind of sounds cool when we both sing in unison. But we were like, okay, but occasionally that takes away from the song.
Yeah.
But we were realizing that we were singing in unison but screaming in the room.
Yeah.
It added a little bit of energy. We learned that from Don't Like Me as well. And so a lot of the songs in Different Plans, almost every song in Different Plans has some version of gang vocals.
Yeah.
I think that added a lot to making the ending feel big and anthemic.
Yeah, I also recorded like huge stacks at the end of just like these oohs. It's like ooh, like these like really big like washed out stacks. So you don't even register like in the final thing. They just are part of the sound, the wall of sound that is the ending.
It has to be overwhelming.
Yeah.
I think also like we weren't gonna get the non-singles like properly mixed, but when that song, when we realized how much was sort of going on in that song, we sent it to Mike Pan from Transviolet.
Yeah.
To like really dial it.
Yeah,
in
because sonically it's in a really similar world, so we're fine. And I guess kind of balanced.
I think we also like fell in love with the song while working on it.
Yeah.
Like I think that we were like, oh yeah, this is an album track, whatever, and then we were like, oh, this could have been a single.
Right.
Like, oh, this is. I like the song a lot.
Yeah. Well, you got to save something. Like people have already heard half of the record, so I'm glad that there's one more song that people haven't heard that like feels like a follow up to everything we've currently been putting out.
Do you have a favorite lyric?
Do I have a favorite lyric? I think the second chorus is probably my favorite. Like, this is what I get for thinking we could still be friends. Keep on calling like it's all okay. Like it goes away when I know we're not good yet. I think that's the part that hits me the most.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I think that's the most recently written. I think that was the line that required the most perspective.
Yeah.
The sort of recognition of, because I don't think I could have written that when we started the song. I don't think I realized that when we had started the song.
Right.
In the way that I do now. I think for me it's the now it's not like we talked since that morning you called and spoke like you didn't even know me, saying maybe I'm not as nice as I think I am and maybe I should have been better back then. And I'm not surprised that I'm calling again, lying alone in my room.
Now, it's not like we talked since that morning you called and you spoke like you didn't even know me, saying maybe I'm not as nice as I think I am, and maybe I should have been better back then. And I'm not surprised that I'm calling again, lying
that for me is like, it feels, especially hearing it, feels like an indictment. Like it feels like, obviously I'm singing it to myself, but it feels like really being called out on like, you tell this story, you tell this narrative, but there's a whole nother perspective to take into account.
Right.
I feel like, I try to bring that into the music, but at the end of the day, I'm the one writing the songs.
Right.
So I can't, juggle these two perspectives. So it was nice to be able to be like, oh, maybe I wasn't who I thought I was in this relationship.
Right.
Or after the fact, you know?
No, that's huge.
And so that line definitely stands out. And lastly, Butterflies.
Right. What a song.
What a song. I mean,
The ending of the record.
what's crazy, I mean, I love that it ends the way that it does. What's crazy is that session was like an hour. Like we started
Yeah.
it at like 11 and she had to go at midnight.
Right.
I think we should just talk to Ashlynn about it. What do you think?
Yeah.
All right, we'll call her up. Well, hey there, Ashlynn.
Hello.
Hi.
It's really good to see you.
It's really good to see you too. I miss you guys.
I miss you too. It's been a weird time in the world and life and everything. Like I feel like we stay up to date, with like the social media stuff. But we used to get waffles. We
Yeah.
used to like have proper catch ups, and now we're all stuck inside.
Yeah. I miss our waffle dates. I miss being in the room with you guys too, and just like, I don't know, we vibe with each other's energies, and I miss writing songs with you.
Me too. I mean,
Likewise.
it like I think really really hit us last night while we were listening to the voice memo for Butterflies.
Yeah.
Just how like fun and special it was, like that time when we were all writing, like because we were writing a lot together. We were like doing sessions like maybe once a week or
Yeah.
once every 2 weeks, and
Like constantly, and we had so many songs. We had like Outline.
yeah,
Like
No Room.
Yeah, No Room. I totally
okay,
forgot
honestly,
about that song
I
until last
liked
night.
that song a lot.
That song was
That
really
probably one
cool,
of my
yeah.
favorites. Like I
Don't
remember.
have any room for me. I'm like,
Yeah.
that part's, as soon as I heard that last night, I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, I know. That was like, I was like really proud of that one. I remember like traveling because I was like also like simultaneously like traveling for dance all the time. And like I was like
Yeah.
on the plane listening to it and I'm like, oh my God, I'm actually proud of something I did.
Well, I
Right.
do also. Sorry, I Can't Be Her.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
I
was
was
a
going
great
to say
With
that,
that like
Sorry, I can't be
beatbox,
her.
like
Yeah.
industrial, yeah. Well, if there's anything that we learned from this project that we're doing, like the Different Plans record, is that you can always revisit. Like you could always go back.
Absolutely.
I think in a lot of ways too, because we were listening to a lot of voice memos last night from like that time. I was still learning how to write. Like Noah was still learning. Like sometimes there are songs that are good, and then you got to get better to be able to like make them. And I feel like, I mean, your instincts have always been insane. I feel like I've always been like just trying to get better. And I feel like who I was 2 years ago versus now is a totally different.
Absolutely. I feel like, and what you were saying, like revisiting, that's been a big theme for me this week. Just because like I'm like fresh, I have some like fresh inspiration to go off of currently, just like in my emotional life. And so I've been like writing and writing and writing, just like journal entries. Like I have 2 journals. I have songs and then anything but songs. So I've been writing in my anything but songs because sometimes like looking at my songbook and like trying to write in it is so daunting because I feel like anything I write in there has to be good or has to be high quality. And so I like
Right.
stop myself and then I just don't write anything. And I was like complaining to my mom, as one does. And I'm like, Mom, like I can't write anything. Like I have so much inspiration, but I can't write anything. Like I haven't written a single song or like I haven't finished a single song. She's just like, just get it written. Like don't think
Yeah.
about it. Just like get it written, like write it out because you can revisit it later. But then like you're going to like spend weeks thinking about it and you'll have nothing to show for it. And even if it's like bad, you can revisit it and you can like rework it and like you can be a great editor, but just get it out there and don't judge it so much.
Well, that's the thing. I don't think I've actually like started like writing something since the quarantine, other than maybe like 1 or 2 songs. But it's been really nice revisiting stuff because the songs needed something that I didn't have when they started. Like even something like Butterflies or We're Fine, which just came out. Like
Yeah.
those were songs that took a while because they had to, because we all had to like kind of become who we are now, and also maybe have this like pandemic and quarantine really trap you with your own work and make you consider how you really feel about certain songs, as opposed to others.
100%. There's a song on my EP that's not out yet, but it was the first song I ever did with the producers I worked with on the EP. And like our first pass of it, was not very good. And it was super produced. It wasn't really our sound. I sounded like a child because I was. And then like one day we just like completely scrapped all the production we did on it, and like after a year of growth together, redid it in like the most chill, like casual way, and it like captured this essence that like wasn't there before. And like after like working together for so long and being in like a completely different mental space and having grown so much as people, like individually as well, like it finally worked. So like sometimes you just have to let it marinate. And then
it kind of makes me excited for like whatever is coming next. Like, yeah, we wrote some really cool stuff, but a lot of them were unfinished things, you know, and maybe when the world starts up again, we can revisit and see, you know, what they can be, or, you know, we set them aside and move on to new ideas, you know. But
and then like
I think
maybe
of
pull from them randomly, like, oh my god, remember that line from that song that we never even used? Like that's one decent line. Why don't we add that to this new song that's about something completely different, but it kind of works.
Yeah.
Definitely. I still we were hanging out with our friends the other day, and we were just listening to like, you know, a bunch of old stuff, and I still can't get over that vocal stack in Outline.
Oh,
just like that crazy like.
You want me like the outline, the outline of me. You want me like the outline, the outline of me.
I mean, I remember that day really, really clearly. It was just, you know, I mean, yeah, you know, for context, you and I kind of met. It was kind of a fluke. Like I've been doing a little bit of work, but also was sort of being mentored by a composer named John Ehrlich, who like did the music for House and Goliath and stuff. And his daughter took a dance class with you.
Yeah, no, we were on the same dance team for years.
So he's like, okay, check out my daughter's friend. She's insanely talented and has not like worked with anybody or written with anybody.
Yeah, I was just a little dancer.
I think we like cold emailed your mom.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, we were like, hey, you know, we're random. We're random.
Literally random people. We're just a couple of random adults, pseudo adults.
But we want to work with your daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then your mom came over, you and your mom.
We ate crepes.
And we ate
We ate
crepes.
crepes all of us.
Yeah.
We ate crepes in Westchester.
But like immediately, like, I mean, your mom was awesome. We love your mom. And,
I love her too.
And you were insanely talented, and just like we wound up writing like some really cool shit just like off the bat. So you know, little do we know, what 3 years later, you know, we got a song. We finally have a song coming out.
Finally.
It's out. Actually, by the time this comes out, it'll be out.
Nice.
Wow.
I'm glad of all of them it was Butterflies too.
I know.
Yeah.
That one was like, I remember the time I wrote that too. Like that was a very like raw, also kind of new emotion for me, like fearing, you know, what comes after like initial excitement. It was about a friendship for me, like when I was writing it. But yeah, that was like the first time I'd cared so much about a relationship with somebody and worried about it.
Listening back to the voice memo, it was really interesting to sort of hear, because you and I were talking about the same things, but like different, you know, different circumstances. Like you were talking about a friendship. I was sort of in a relationship brain, you know, like just, I'm like, oh, what's the consistent factor is, we were talking about how often it is that like people really, really like us at first.
Yeah.
And then just get tired of it. Just get really...
Oh, yeah. I also think I was pulling inspiration from the industries I was in at the time, because I feel like when I was working with you, that's also when like I started to really take a dance career seriously. And when I actually started like getting opportunities, and it was like a constant like, where did you come from? Like you just came out of the blue. Like, you know, where'd you come from? And I like, obviously I didn't just like appear out of thin air in the dance community, but like I was like finally getting attention, you know? And I'm like, oh my God, like it's a couple months of me being this like new shiny thing that people can, you know, get excited about. But like, what happens after like a year of me existing in their lives? Are they going to get tired of me? Are they going to be like, okay, she's like same thing as I remember from months ago. Like not much has changed. I'm kind of tired of her. And so like that was a major fear as well. Like both like, you know, individual relationships and my relationship with my career. So yeah.
Well, and we feel that in a lot of ways too. Like even just working with you, like I was like are we old? Are we too old to be doing? Like we're 24, but like
our career's over. Will we?
Yeah.
Is it too late for us?
Are we not shiny anymore?
Are we in the sunset of our lives?
Isn't that weird? Like our lives
Yeah.
have not even started yet, and we're like worried about the end.
Yeah.
We're worried that it's
But
over.
That's how we do. Like that kind of anxiety, I think, is what drives us to like try to make. I mean, we were listening again back to the voice memos. We were just writing constantly because we were terrified of like what would happen if we took a week off.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
We wrote so many songs that month. Like Butterflies, or I guess Butterflies was later. Butterflies was
It was a little earlier.
But when we wrote Outline, we listened back to the Outline session, and that was like sandwiched in between like
8 other songs.
Like 8 other songs.
Like,
So we're all like pretty good and like just like back to back to back to back because we were just like we didn't know what to do with ourselves.
We burned out and learned the value of mental health, which everybody's got to do.
Absolutely. That was me during quarantine. Like with all this stuff and like with with everything kind of coming to a halt, I'm just like, first of all, who am I without my work? Like, do I like myself without my productivity? And I learned that I make better quality things when I okay, here's where I was going. Okay, we found it. You guys, we found it.
We found it.
Self-motivation. Doing things because I actually want to. And like sometimes, especially with like schedules and like having that like life where I had to deliver for so many different people all the time, I was doing things and I'm like, yeah, of course I like to do this, but I'm doing this because I have a deadline. I'm doing this because somebody expects it from me. I'm doing this because it's something that I'm good at. This is my like quote unquote like trade. And then nobody's asking me to do anything, all of a sudden. And I'm like, wow, what is it that I actually want to do? And so like, I probably didn't write a song for a solid month that quarantine started. And I was so frustrated with myself about it. I'm like, am I only doing this to please people? And so when I wrote that first like song, just out of like pure, like an emotional state and trying to get myself through something, I'm like, oh, okay, we're good. This is something that I actually do enjoy genuinely. And like from there, I started making it more of like a game. I made it like fun for myself. I made it like a way to explore things within myself and not like, I made it a way to like, I don't know, actually enjoy art.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's been really nice is, Noah and I have been, before all this, we were really doing the session grind and like, through this, we've been working on the record, but in a lot of ways, I think we missed sight of what we enjoyed about doing this to begin with. And I think what's been nice about revisiting songs is that we wrote those songs in a space when we were excited about writing songs.
Yeah.
And I think it kind of reminded us that doesn't have to go anywhere or have to be traded away.
Yeah.
Like even just listening to the Butterflies session, like I'd been so tired of doing sessions and like so burnt out from sessions. And then Noah and I both looked at each other and we were like, do we miss sessions?
Yeah.
Like we miss sessions. We miss writing with people. We miss like what that is. And I think also what was really crazy about the Butterfly sessions that I didn't realize until listening back last night, we only had an hour.
Really?
We did it in an hour.
Yeah, pretty much.
No way.
Yeah.
The whole
Why did
song
we
came
only have an
together.
hour?
Because it was late. You wound up, you had something, we had something. We wound up not really meeting up, I think, until like 10:30 or 11 p.m. And
you wanted to go home at midnight.
Yeah.
Of course I did.
No, I think your mom was like, come home at midnight.
No, I was still like 17. Oh my
but
God.
Right.
Weird.
Well, it was also, it was crazy. Like, I'm just, listening back, like, I was eating a bag of Chex Mix.
Yep.
I think I was throwing some of it at you.
Yeah, and I think I was eating goldfish.
Yeah, because you just hear in the recording all of this chewing.
So much crunching.
And
Chewing. I've never heard anything more characteristic of my process. I'm eating the whole time.
That's the process. That's how we do. But yeah, no, I think Noah throughout because we were talking about excitement and the idea of butterflies and whatnot, and Noah throughout the sort of concept of will you still like me when the butterflies are gone?
Yeah.
And then we were sort of off to the races, just kind of like, well, at one point I'm just like, when the butterflies fly away, and you were like, that's throwing up.
No, at one point, no, this is great. We wrote the lines, will you still like me when the butterflies fly away from my stomach and into the sun? And you were like, that's throwing up. And it's absolutely hilarious.
I think I just had the same reaction. I forgot about that whole thing, but I'm like looking at you guys right now like, what kind of a line is that?
Well, so I think we were having like trouble trying to figure out what it was, and then Noah was like, "What if it was this verse refrain?" I think we even played Randy Newman. Like I think we played like some verse refrain songs.
I believe the specific quote, which I hope you splice in, is guys, what if we write a fucking verse refrain song? I'd only ever written one verse refrain song before in songwriting class. We got an assignment to write an AABA song in the style of like To Make You Feel My Love, and I absolutely adore that style of writing. And I think in the pop sessions that we've been doing at the time, I was like just so like burnt out of like, right here we write a verse and then we write the pre-chorus and then we write the chorus. And I think there was just, because that's the thing, I don't necessarily connect with butterflies emotionally, interestingly enough, because I'm a very quiet and reserved person. I don't overwhelm people from the jump. I underwhelm people and then they slowly get to know me. But the thing that really excited me, the thing that clicked in my brain during that session was butterflies is a really cool concept. It's strong enough to carry a refrain. What if we write a song that doesn't have a chorus and it just lands on this beautiful line? And as soon as that like coalesced in my brain, I was like, this is like
absolutely.
Even though, because it was also interesting for me listening back to the voice memos, I wasn't really involved in the lyric writing process at all. Like I threw out that hook line and I added one really. I added the really in the
when it was
I can't really help it.
Okay.
That was my one lyrical edit. Otherwise, I was just like in piano land. I was like
finding all the weird arcade sounds.
You could hear it in the voice memo, like
Piano
me just like
land.
playing. Like you guys even got frustrated with me for playing different chords because I was just like trying to find the right chords to set underneath. Like my brain was
we
like
have a melody,
fully in
stop.
music mode. Yeah. You're like, there's like points where both of you stop me. It's like, can you just go back to the chord progression?
No, I was like, Noah, can you play the progression? You're like,
I'm playing the progression.
Ashton, you're like, my brain is telling me you're not.
I was so mean. Okay, not mean.
No,
I just
you
had
know,
like
you-
I had
you
a lot
were-
of attitude. I was so comfortable with you guys.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think we were just really comfortable with each other.
What was crazy too, though, was that like your instincts were really good. Like at one, like I thought the song was going to be this one thing, but every time like you had a hesitation, it led to the song being better. Like there was not a misstep. And what was really cool was obviously we were on a bit of a time crunch, but so much of the song developed from this like I'd never heard a session that was so like 50-50. Like it was like I had a line, then you had the next one.
Oh,
like
absolutely.
like it was just this sort of bounce back and forth.
I should have brought my Sleeping Lion songbook so I could like be going through like all the like things that we scratched out right now, like as we're talking about that. Ugh, damn it. Okay.
Well, you talked about like the surface, the idea of the surface. I was like when we were listening, like I was like, how did the second verse happen? Because it's a complicated concept of like, I hope you don't mind it. Like there's so much behind it.
Yeah.
You can hear the sort of twinkle in both of our eyes. Like you can hear the twinkle in our eyes when we got the second verse down.
Yes. Oh my God, absolutely. And for me, it was definitely like personal experience, like literally like remembering how I felt or like thoughts that ran through my mind and like real conversations I was having with real people in my real life. Real. And so like, like so much I'm afraid you'll miss. Like I remember being like, like I want you to, I want you to take in all of me and like, absorb it and appreciate it. Like I want to be appreciated for every side of myself. And even though it's a lot, like I just like, I want somebody to care that much, but I feel like you're going to stop paying attention and you're just going to miss the good parts of me because like we don't even get there before you get tired of it.
Yeah, that was I loved there's so much behind it, like there's a reason we are this way, like that. It's like one of those things we say the right notes always sound right, and it was just like whenever you and I locked in, like that was. I think we wound up writing that last verse in like the last 5 minutes.
You were like I think called your Uber and Nate was like lay down the piano and you can literally hear the click track and I'm laying down the piano part that ended up being on the record while you guys are chewing on the very last two lines of the chorus.
Honestly,
It's
like nothing.
Of the second verse.
Nothing like a time crunch to like let your intuition take like the lead. Like you're on autopilot at that point, and honestly, like it works.
Right. Well, and the thing is, what's crazy too is like when we actually had the first time we sang the hook, what Noah played immediately after on the piano wound up being. And on top of that, like, Noah saying, oh, well, if it's a verse refrain, we need a B section, we need a B section, we need a B section. And I didn't want it to be, like, at first we were, like, messing around with chords, but, like, I didn't necessarily want it to, like, modulate, or, like, something like that, like a Randy Newman song.
Just simple.
And you and I were jamming. Like, you and I were kind of riffing on just singing Gone. Like, You were harmonizing with me. You know,
Yeah.
we were harmonizing with each other. Like I'm like, I'll take the low, you take the high.
Yeah.
I didn't have the low at all. We were just riffing off of each other, and then that turned into a whole section
Yeah.
of the song.
Yeah, there's a point in the voice memo where you're like, what if that's the B section? And it's
Yeah.
like that is what it ended up being.
Absolutely.
The last little thing that like we both kind of freaked out listening back yesterday was at the very end, maybe the last minute of the voice memo. You go,
I hear a cello in this. Like,
Yeah.
I can hear
Oh my
this. I
God.
can hear this having cello. And 2 years later, we got an insane
You got the
cello
cello.
player on it. You know, Isaiah Gage absolutely crushed it.
Came through. Homie came through.
Amazing.
Was there a highlight in the session that stands out? Was there something that you remember distinctly?
Yes. I remember recording the "Gone." I guess this wasn't the writing of it. This was the recording of it.
I think you hadn't called the Uber yet. I think you extended just
Yeah.
to record. So that was the same night.
Okay. It was the same night. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
because we got that demo.
Because I
Yeah.
wanted
day
to
one
jump
demo.
on those harmonies. Harmonies are literally my favorite thing. My dad says I was born to be a backup singer. I'm kidding. Well, no, I'm not kidding. He actually said that, but he believes in me.
Well, our parents said we were born to never sing ever. So
Yeah.
Oh my
that's the step
God.
up, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, that is. We can unpack that another time. But anyways, no, I definitely remember recording those backing vocals and just like wanting to add stacks and stacks and stacks. And you guys were like, chill, okay, we have it. We have like these. You don't have to do a million more. I also
We were more like chill to each other. If you heard us saying chill, it was us going, holy fuck.
yeah.
Like, she can sing that high.
No, I just remember I wanted to keep like adding and we were just like at some point we're gonna have to stop. You know?
At some point, it is too much harmony.
At some point, there is too much, especially since it's just been one voice the entire time. We're not about to have a choir come in. That, and then definitely the butterfly line. I got super excited about it just because it was so simple and so effective.
Yeah.
Like, because usually, like, with my songwriting, like, I find myself trying to, like, really, like, precisely define everything that I'm feeling, and it gets so wordy and so complicated that I'm like, okay, if nobody's actually in my brain right now, like it's just me like spewing the same theme over and over again and just rewording it as many times as I possibly can to make sure it makes like perfect sense. And so like for me, having that one like, will you still like me when the butterflies are gone, and that summing up everything I was feeling was so exciting for me. I'm like, okay, I found it. Like we found that like simplicity together, and I was so excited about that because it definitely like differed from my personal writing style at the time, and it definitely taught me how to keep things like simple but powerful. And it definitely like is something that I kept in my brain for a long time from there as I kept writing on my own as well. Like you don't have to do too much to make somebody feel something.
I think what really resonated about the song, the reason why it haunted us so much to the point of like putting it on the Different Plans record, was that without any bells and whistles, without any production, without anything crazy, it says something that we felt at that time and still I think feel exactly how it needed to be said.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know, I really don't think there are many songs that we've written that feel that clean.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that it's like
Clean's
that
a good
very
word.
it's a clean, it's a very clean song.
The writing is like neat and tidy. Like
Yeah.
I felt that listening back to the voice memo and seeing it come together piece by piece, even melodically.
Yeah.
Like it took us forever to get the.
After all is said and done.
We like had like 100 different versions.
Really?
And like it took us a really
Why
long
is
time
my
to
memory
s-
gone? I do not remember.
No, our memory. We literally sat down.
down.
We literally sat down and listened to the entire voice memo, so our memory is very much refreshed. I remembered literally none of this before last night.
Okay.
Yeah, me neither.
But it was
good.
really interesting just seeing like
felt bad.
like it was like bits of a puzzle. Like we had the hook line, we had the first line of the verse, and we kind of like kept filling in the blanks.
We were listening
Yes.
like we were
That's the
watching a
exciting
movie.
part,
We were watching like we were in a movie theater, just like, come on guys, like you're almost there.
You're almost there.
Don't go down the
Yeah,
hallway.
it's like you guys know what's coming next. You guys know what
Yeah.
like the final thing is gonna happen. It's like you can see all the pieces laid out there, but like us in the moment couldn't.
Yeah, there's something really exciting about that.
Well,
Yeah.
and even Noah was like, well, it's like he's like, I'm pretty sure, Nate, you're gonna say that line because that's a very Nate line, but Ashlynn's gonna say that line because that's a very Ashlynn line. Like, not even remembering who said what. It was just like there's so much of like how you and I kind of mesh, and like how we phrase certain things.
I can't
that are,
even
like
remember what I
interplaying with
wrote.
each other.
Yeah,
I'll tell you, it's exactly 50% of it.
No
Like,
way.
It's like it is pretty much we were trading lines. It was really crazy to hear us kind of like volley certain lines.
Good for us.
Yeah, we were crushing. We were
really
like
were.
we were on it. You know?
Yeah, Noah, you're so right. Like, it's very clean. Like, I feel like listening to it, like, it's simple. And then there's not a word that I'm like, ooh, if we just took that word out, like, it would still make sense. Like, every word is, like, supposed to be there, which is nice.
Yeah. It says a lot with a little. Like, there's, like, it actually, like, it gets it really complex. Like, we were talking about the second part of the second verse, the, like, I hope you don't mind it. There's so much behind it. So much I'm afraid you'll miss. Like, that says so much. It adds such a dimension. It adds such a dimension to the song of like it explains this fear in a really like heartfelt and sincere kind of way, and it's like it's hard to like just come up with that. Like it was one of those things that sort of wrote itself like bit by bit, but like it's on the page it's such a beautiful construction.
Kudos to us too for throwing momentum and novelty into a first verse.
Yes,
that's crazy.
Totally.
I remember like us going around being like, oh, I want the word novelty. I want momentum. We made it happen. We made it work.
I think in any other session, if it's like, I want the word novelty, I'm like, what is this? The 1850s?
Nope, it is 2018.
2018. Well, 18.
It was 2018.
It was 2018. September of 2018.
That year was a long time ago.
Yeah,
everything. Last week was a long time ago.
It really was. Like, what was yesterday? I don't even remember what I did yesterday.
I don't remember anything.
Oh no, I do. Yesterday was.
We were in the studio, but there was no desk.
It was just the keyboard in the room.
There was a mattress in the middle of the floor.
Mattress on the floor.
Are you guys describing what you did yesterday?
No.
This was our writing session, right?
Session.
Yeah,
okay,
there was the mattress in the middle of the floor. You remember that?
Yeah. No, absolutely. I was lying down on it the whole time, eating my goldfish.
You were like, if I fall asleep, just.
I definitely was so tired.
Up.
I was like drifting a little bit.
Well, that's the thing. I think we were all like kind of exhausted, which is why I don't think we all necessarily remember it. If you were to ask me before listening to the voice memo, like, what do you remember about the session? I'd say it was late. Mm-hmm. The mattress was in the middle of the floor. The song was there at the end of the hour. Yeah. Like, it just really came to us. It really poured out, you know?
You know why? At least for me. And this ties into like, okay, you know how I used to do those like midnight singing things? For the people listening, on my Instagram, like every night for a year, I would like just make like a little like singing video at my piano, like super quiet because my whole family was asleep. And I would just like post it on my Instagram stories like every night. It was just like something I did. But somebody asked me like, why do you do this at midnight? And I'm like, it's the only time of the day where I'm too tired to like overthink what I'm doing. So whatever I do at that hour, like in my brain, it's good enough because I just don't even have the energy to criticize myself. And so maybe that's why the song ended up being good, is because I just didn't have the energy to judge myself. So we just let it happen.
That could very well be it. I felt similarly, like I between the rush of trying to, it was this blending of feeling really inspired by how beautiful the piano sounded and how good you sounded and like how powerful that concept just from the jump was, and sort of feeling a responsibility to it, mixed with we have an hour to like actually make this happen, and also I'm exhausted, so you know everything's gonna be slightly harder to do. I think that's why it wound up coming together. But yeah, it really felt like all three of us were firing on like all cylinders. Like you can hear and feel the energy in the room. You know,
that's why it's special.
That's why it's special, and I hope people who hear the song hear how much it meant to us, and how much it resonated with us then and now.
I think people are going to connect with it. I think like a song that has writing that clean like has to connect with people.
Mm-hmm.
How did you feel hearing the final version?
I loved it. It was almost nostalgic. Like I was listening to it and I'm like, okay, like my voice doesn't sound like that anymore. First of all, like it was like baby me singing it, and I'm just like, a part of me was like, I want to give this kid a hug. Like, oh, like, cause just like Like, you know how you're always talking about like you being a time traveler and stuff like that, Nate?
Yeah.
And like, you know, going back to your past and going back to that. Like, I revisit the old versions of myself. I feel like I'm like constantly changing and like it's like shedding skin. And so like I'm remembering like the different molds of myself throughout the years. And I'm just like, I so clearly could see that version of myself when I listened to the final version of this song. And I just remember all the things that I was feeling, all the things I was overthinking about, all my fears. And, you know, I still overthink, I still have fears, but they're just so different than the ones I had at that time. And I just wanted to like reach through the phone and like give this voice a hug and tell her that like things were gonna be okay. You know?
Well, hey, you know, things are okay.
I know.
You know?
And hopefully
You
future
did
me
it.
listens to the stuff I'm writing now and she's just like, oh, Ashlynn, like, you're gonna be fine. You're gonna be okay.
Yeah, I think we owe it to our future selves just to worry just a little less and let them handle, you know, it's their problem for a second, you know?
I also think that we owe it to our future selves to be completely honest with how we feel at this exact moment, just so that we can paint them that picture.
Yeah.
Like I, you know, write in diaries all the time, and I've written in diaries since I was in like 2nd grade. And like 2nd grade me was so honest and such a mess. You know? And so I'd write about the dumbest shit, but like it was so important to me. And I wrote about it like it was the most urgent thing in the world. And I was such a little drama queen in my head. And so like, of course I look back at it and I just like cringe. I'm like, why did I say that? Why did I think that? But like, you know, it's not hurting anybody. Nobody heard me say this stuff. Nobody like read my journals except maybe my sister, you know, just because that's what they do. But I'm like, thank God I was so like honest and candid about like everything that was happening in my brain at the time. Because now I look and I'm like, wow, I know exactly, like I can remember exactly how my 2nd grade self felt and moved through the world. And so like I'm trying to do that now and be like completely honest when I'm writing and just doing it for myself and doing it for my future self so that they know exactly how I was, like every detail about how my mind was working at the time so that they can see how much they've grown.
Well, and that's I keep journals as well, and every time I get a new journal, on the last page, I write a letter to myself, and sometimes it reads like, "How you doing?" like whatever, and sometimes it reads like, "Please like me." Like it's like, future self, I really want you to like me. Like future self, I hope that I'm not like a disappointment or something that you would cringe at.
Oh my God.
And I've been trying to be like, you know, for now when I'm writing those letters, trying to be like, listen, this is what's happening. You can judge that as however you want, but like, I'm working really hard. If anything, I'm like calling him out. I'm like, I think the last letter I wrote, it ended with like, I'm working so hard. If you have everything that I want now, I know that you'll already be on the next thing, but I need you to take a second to appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Because I'm working so hard to make this happen, and I'll be damned if you take it for granted.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's good. That's very good.
I read that recently, and I was like, you know, Nate, you're calling me out, aren't you?
Yeah.
You're really trying to. You really got my number. You know.
Totally. Oh my God. Next time we meet up for waffles or something, like I need to read you this journal entry I wrote actually around the time we wrote Butterflies. I was like 17 and I wrote in my old journal, like, I think I titled it like Vision. And it's just like, I have this vision for who I want to be. And it's like, you know, this girl who just like cares so much and is so open about caring and not embarrassed to care about things. Open-hearted, like stands up for herself, like super creative and doesn't judge it, just like lets her thoughts like free, like all these things that I was so afraid of being or had so many like fears and like judgments towards myself for. And I read it back and I'm just like, this is how I exist now. And I don't even give it a second thought. I'm just like, yeah, this is the way I am. This is like, I do care very openly about things now. I do express myself constantly and sometimes get judged for it and sometimes feel bad about myself. But like, I'm just a lot more open and like I'm as open as my past self wanted me to be. And like, that was such a main focus of mine because I was so in my shell and I just wanted to come out of my shell so bad. And now I am out of my shell and I have a whole new world of fears and insecurities and issues that I'm trying to deal with. But like, I had to take a second and be like, oh my God, I am all she wanted right now. That's got to count for something.
Yeah.
Well, you know, we've always thought the world of you. Like, if anything, you pushed us when we first moved to LA to be better, like to just like be excited, enjoy this whole experience, to be time travelers, you know, to write honestly. And, you know, no matter when we see each other again, no matter when we write again, no matter what happens next in our lives or careers, like that'll always mean the world to us.
And it means the world to us that you're on this record.
Yeah.
Like I think it makes me really happy that the song gets to see the light of day and that it gets to like be a part of
Me
like
too.
our story and that it didn't just sit on a hard drive forever. Like that's one of the songs that really would like. I don't think it would have hit me immediately, but somewhere like if the song never came out, like a couple years from now, I'd be like, "What is wrong with the world? This makes no sense."
Yeah. Well,
Wow.
what do you say we let the listeners time travel with us just a bit, and we send them back to the session?
I think that's
Should
a great
we-
idea.
Should we roll the clip?
We roll the clip.
Common theme. What happens when we lose momentum?
What happens?
When newness wears off. Because like everything's so exciting at the beginning.
I once said to somebody, like, you're not gonna like me when the novelty wears off.
Yeah. Because like I feel like I'm really exciting to people when we first meet. Because I'm just like all over the place. And then like after a while it ends up being like, oh well, I don't know what to do with you anymore. And I hate when that happens.
I'm very similar, and it's frustrating.
So what if it's like, what'll you do? Like, what are you gonna think of me after the butterflies are gone?
Ooh. I like butterflies. That's a good song.
It's a
title.
juicy word.
I like butterflies as the title.
I like butterflies as the title.
That's really cute. I love that.
Are you still gonna like me?
When the butterflies fly away.
Are you still like me? When butterflies are gone. Butterflies are gone. The butterflies fly away from your story off into the sun. What are you doing? I kind of like that line too. It's like when they fly away, like when the butterflies fly away from your stomach and up into the sun.
Isn't that throwing up?
I also say, will you still like me when all is said and done? Will you still like me when the butterflies are gone?
Yeah, something like that.
We do the chorus again, right?
I'm gonna lie down.
What's gonna happen when we lose our momentum? Will you still like me when the novelty's gone? What's gonna happen when it all is said and done? Will you still like me?
Okay, yeah.
No, what's gonna happen should rhyme with momentum. Like,
Yeah.
I'm lying this way.
What's gonna happen when we lose momentum?
That like what's gonna happen when we lose momentum when the novelty wears off. I mean, I guess it could be right, but I'm hearing more as like a second thing.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Or the beginning just being like, sure, you like me now, like that you're all hot.
That's what I was thinking too. I was just like I know there's parts of me that make me special or whatever.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, I'm exciting.
I wrote that.
You did?
Oh, I'm different and exciting.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah.
Guys, what if we write a fucking first refrain song?
Oh
Like
shit.
an old school AABA, like we write. It's like a thing.
Oh, I'm
It's a
so
big
into this.
turnaround, and then it's like, what's gonna happen when the butterflies wear off?
I'm
We
so
write
into
one of those,
this.
Then we write a B section. We go back to the.
I'm
A.
so into that.
I've
Hey,
wanted to write an
can someone
AABA
explain-
song for so long.
Can someone explain to me what's going on?
butterflies gone.
That's so nice.
That's so pretty.
Uh,
I feel like this is like a song in like a movie.
I saw him.
No, I'm excited, not enticing. If you don't know me at all, but what's gonna happen when we lose momentum and the novelty wears off?
But I like that. I'm not excited, intriguing, enticing.
We can do better. We can both do better. Like, how do we end it with like how do we? Or inviting. What about new and enticing? New and inviting. New and inviting.
Ooh, that's nice.
Would you still like me? And the butterflies are gone.
Something like that.
Oh, it's so nice.
This is a chill and pretty song.
Oh, it's so
This would
pretty.
be on my like chill playlist or my feelings playlist. I was like,
All is said and done.
I don't like the melody that we have with Said and Done yet.
after all is said and done. No. All is
I had another melody that I was singing before, like
When all is said and done.
It's close, not 100% about it, but I do like it.
Can I try?
yeah.
Okay. I don't have the lyrics, but I'm gonna try one.
I like having the ooh between "we used to like me," like not on the first one, but the second time around we go "you still like me," ooh, you know, and we have like a nice vocal stack there.
After all is said and done. Was
I
that
feel like you
enough?
can afford to be something a little more higher and intricate just because
Yeah.
we don't have a chorus.
Yeah.
So it's like, you might as well get to something
After
in that
all
range.
is said and done.
I almost go to the F.
All is said and done.
I should probably leave at like midnight.
Oh,
I don't know.
so it's like in 25 minutes.
Really?
Yeah.
Second verse,
Jesus.
go.
Okay. It's something that I feel like I have no control.
I can control it.
We could do better.
Oh, don't. I was just saying I can control it something to something. I've always been like this. Well, because I've always been like this. What if the second line is like it might be something you miss, you know?
Oh, and mist can rhyme with surface.
Oh, interesting.
I wrote something about a surface, but I don't know what that means yet.
Yeah, me neither.
But it's we're onto something.
I don't know, like, what is it about you being like the general you and like the you of this song that like people get tired of?
What about this? So like,
I'm overwhelming. I can't even help it. Oh, I've always been like this.
Sometimes it's too much, but I can't get enough. I can't get attached like this.
And the butterflies are gone. And the butterflies are gone.
what if that's our B section? I want to say like the second stanza, like these are things you're gonna like miss about me.
I'm a bit overwhelming. I can't really help it.
What? A bit overwhelming. I can't really help it. I've always been like this.
But then you should like the second part of it should talk about
I want to
how.
say, yeah, like, but when this is over, something to something will be the first thing you miss.
But it's not talking about ending. It's talking about somebody who's scared about ending. You said something earlier and I loved it. I'm talking about like how like the overwhelming part like is good at first and then you get tired of it. Tired.
I hope you don't mind it.
There's something behind it. Like some kind of word. There's magic. No, not magic.
I got it.
The what?
I got it. I think.
Okay, what is it?
Hope you don't mind it. There's so much behind it. I'm afraid you'll miss.
I like there's so much behind it. I'm afraid you'll miss.
Yeah, like I'm afraid you'll miss it. Like I'm afraid that you'll miss you'll be so overwhelmed by this personality that you'll miss like what the core of it, like the real person.
So much I'm afraid you'll miss. So much behind it.
I
Yeah.
hope you don't mind it. There's so much behind it. So much I'm afraid you'll miss.
Yeah.
I like that. I really like that. And that sings super cool. And she makes it a little bit different from the first time around. So yeah, so the first time around we'll just keep it tight, right? And then the second time around we should have the vocals sort of layer between the will you still like me?
Yeah.
Like will you still like me? Oh, and the butterflies I got.
Wait, so it'd be like
Hold one note. Yeah.
I hear a cello in this, like a single cello. Does anyone else hear a cello?
Do you play cello?
I wish.
She's the best.
oh man.
She's like one of my favorite people to work with. Like
Yeah,
just
for sure.
just the sweetest and like the coolest person ever. Period. And also like the craziest voice. That ending, I mean
It's so
chills
pretty. It's
still whenever.
yeah.
I love you can hear in the voice memo. You know, she's like, let's bring in cellos. So we did.
Right.
Isaiah Gage, we were like, we really want pretty cellos. He's like, I got you. In the same way he did for We're Fine. He's like, I got you. And what was cool is even the ending was this sort of improvised thing, but he had that one theme going on. So we sort of Frankensteined it together.
Yeah.
To make, because we didn't have an end. We didn't even have chords for an end.
Yeah, we had no idea how we wanted to end it.
So he actually played that cello melody in a vacuum. And then we sort of cut it so it sounded more like a melody and more cohesive. And then, you know, repeated some things and moved some things around. And then I just like sat down and played the chords. That would be the ending. And that's almost like one of my favorite parts because we ended Patient Creature, our first record, with actually improvised strings.
Improvised strings.
Improvised fiddle.
It was an unexpected outro as well.
And so, you know, it's almost like paying homage to, it's an unexpected homage to how we end our EPs now. So, you know, that's the record.
Yeah.
And it's out in the world.
Yeah.
How do you feel now that it's out?
I feel good. I mean, we put so much work into it. It really was our quarantine project. And I put more work into it than I ever expected. It was going to be like the B-sides record.
It was going to be blah.
Yeah, it was going to be like, all right, let's touch these songs up. Let's give the people something to listen to.
The people.
You know.
No, but that was the thing. It was like, these songs are haunting us. Let it not haunt us anymore.
Yeah, let's
and
just get them out.
Get them out.
But I think, yeah, we went
wound up working hard on them.
We went hard
yeah.
on all of these songs and like, I think managed to fall in love with each of them individually as we were working on them. And they all kind of at one point or another were my favorite. And so that at least, and we spent the time and the money to really make them like what we needed them to be. And I think that we made something that we were proud of. And like now we just get to sit back and hope that people connect with it.
What is kind of nice is we are protected in a sense of people like, oh, whatever, like these are okay. We're like, well, that wasn't even the record. We have a whole record of stuff we wrote this year that we're planning on putting out next year. But what's been nice, a lot of the feedback has been like, this is some of your strongest stuff.
Right.
And part of me is like, well, if you think this about that, wait until next year. But part of me is like, I think that's the case because we really cared about it.
Yeah.
I think we didn't compromise anything with these songs. Like these, you know, we spent so much time since we moved to LA, and these songs are really indicative of our first 2 years in LA. We spent so much time trying to make pop music.
Right.
That we gave ourselves permission with this record, because it was kind of a B-sides record, to just approach it how we would want to approach it.
And I think in doing that, I think we made an appropriate follow-up to Patient Creature.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about this a lot because like obviously we made this one EP that was this whole experience. It defined like the first phase of our career, and then we've just been putting out singles for like years.
Yeah.
And then we kind of went on a break. Like this is spiritually the follow-up to that first project. And even though it is like just kind of a collection of songs, we were thinking of it as like a quarantine mixtape for a long time. It feels like a record. It feels sonically cohesive.
The story's there.
And it's got a really strong story center. If anything, it's a more cohesive record than Patient Creature, despite the fact these songs were all written in various times in various places. It was finished all together.
Because I feel like we were chewing on some of the same stuff. Sometimes, you know, not at the same time, you and I, but we have both been learning about repeated mistakes and what it means to sort of grow up and take ownership for them.
Yeah.
And sort of, you know, what it means to be an adult and how and what that means for the relationships that we find ourselves in, both romantic and otherwise. And we've had to learn that over the course of the last couple of years. And as Ashlynn so incredibly said, you know, you can't rush the lesson.
Right.
So I guess that's what Different Plans is. It's a record that wasn't supposed to exist, made from love and uncompromising love for, you know, these songs that haunted us, to talk about a lesson that as much as we wanted to rush, we couldn't.
Yeah.
So we hope you guys like this record. And if you don't, like I said, there's more coming, but this one means a lot. So we hope if you haven't yet, you'll listen to it, and that the songs will connect with you in the way that they have connected with us.
Thanks for listening, and enjoy Different Plans.
This is what I get for thinking we can just forget every minute of the mess we made. Sure, I went away, but I haven't lost hope yet. This is what I get for thinking we can still be friends. Keep on calling like it's all okay, like it goes away when I know we're not good yet.
We would like to thank Alan C. for supporting Talking Lion on Patreon, and Isotope.
We'd also like to thank everyone who was involved in the making of Different Plans. Jacob Herlick on drums, Scott Bell on trumpet, Isaiah Gage on cello. Featured vocals from Transviolet, Miette Hope, and Ashlynn Malia. If We're Done was co-written by Jesse Mason, Tendencies was co-written by Casey Cook, Balance was co-written by Miette Hope, Butterflies was co-written by Ashlynn Malia. Additional vocals on We're Fine were provided by Salem Elise, Amelia Ali, Sad Alex, Kira Kazran, David Leone, Yost, Sophia Lanuza, Nicole Conti, Josh Ford, Isabel Knezovich, and Max Chester. Cover art by Meg Meyer. All songs mixed except for If We're Done and Butterflies by Mike Pan, and mastered by Eric Bart.